How to VoiceOver at Home, a step-by-step guide for beginners. Welcome back, VO friends, and today we're going to talk about something that is about as basic as it gets, and that is how to build or create your recording studio from home. So here's the deal. You could have the best voice in the world, but if your recordings sound muffled or echoey or boxy or tinny, then nobody's going to hire you. The good news is you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to sound professional. You can probably get started with items that are just laying around your house. So today I'm going to go over 4 different ways to create a recording studio in your house, and we'll cover the pros and the cons of each. So those 4 ways are as follows: the PVC blanket fort, the walk-in closet booth, or maybe the talk-in closet booth, the build a booth from scratch, and then a buy a professional booth. So by the end, you're going to know which one suits you the best. All right, so let's keep it simple. There are 2 ways that your VoiceOver booth needs to function. The first is to keep outside noise out of the booth. The second is to keep the inside noise as dead as possible. So remember the phrase, the deader, the better. A lot of people, when they first start out, they think that they need to get a fancy microphone in order to sound professional. And actually, if you get the most expensive microphone and put it in a poorly created space, it'll sound terrible. And on the flip side, if you get a entry-level or beginner microphone and put it in a very well-treated space, it's going to sound pretty good. All right, let's start with the most economical option, and that's the PVC blanket fort booth. So the way this works is you get to channel your inner child. Go down to the hardware store, get some PVC pipe and the connectors, and build a frame. Whatever frame size works best for you. Now, since you're going to be in this thing quite a bit, make sure you build it big enough to have room to move and to put a small desk in so that you can work in there. Most people will build something that's like a 4x6, maybe a 4x8, and make it about 6 feet tall. All right, the next thing you're going to get is moving blankets, or you can actually buy soundproofing blankets. The moving blankets you can get down at your hardware store. If you're going to go with soundproofing blankets, you'll have to get those online. Now, the last couple of things you're going to need are going to be maybe some zip ties or clamps to hold the blankets on the fort, and then maybe a little LED light for the inside. So the pros to this kind of booth is it's cheap. You can probably build this for less than a couple $100. It's also portable, meaning you can set it up and break it down and move it around pretty easily. This option also works really well for straight-up beginners, because if you don't want to spend a bunch of money initially to build a brand new booth, this will let you test the waters. I've heard some really good recordings recorded in these kinds of booths. I'm talking about broadcast quality recordings. So remember, it doesn't have to look good, it just has to sound good. Now let's talk about some cons for this kind of booth. These kinds of booths usually don't block outside noise very well, so make sure that wherever you have it, it's as quiet as possible in that room. These can also get kind of hot, so make sure you take plenty of breaks and maybe open the blankets up when you're not recording so that you can let the air flow. These are great for people who just want to put their toe in the water pretty cheaply just to kind of see what this whole voiceover thing's about. Next up is the closet booth. This is actually what I did when I first started. So find a closet in your house that you're not using, or maybe even the one that you are using that already has clothes in it. If your closet already has clothes in it, that does a really good job of dampening the sound inside the closet. In fact, if you've ever walked into your closet while talking, you can hear the difference between inside and outside the closet. If you're going to dedicate a closet just to your booth, you're going to need to line the inside with some sound dampening material. You can either use the sound dampening blankets that we talked about before, or moving blankets to put along the walls, or you can actually invest in some foam like you see here. Now, the pros to this kind of setup is that it's almost free, especially if you've already got clothing that you can put in there. But if you have to get a little bit of stuff to put on the walls, that may cost a little bit. But overall, you've already got a dedicated space. And remember, even if you don't have a closet that you can specifically dedicate to your recording studio, use your existing closet with the clothes already in it. That goes a long way to dampening sound. Okay, let's talk about some cons. So any kind of small closet like that could possibly lead to feeling kind of claustrophobic inside. This also does a better job than the blanket fort in blocking outside noise, but it still doesn't get everything. One thing I did to my closet is I added an extra layer of floor and drywall to the closet, just giving it that extra thick wall to keep the outside sound out. And the last con is that it will get hot in there. So what I used to do was when I was done recording, I would open the door so that I could feel that big rush of cool air coming in while I did my edit. So this option is going to be for people who want a surprisingly good sounding space with very little money invested.
And now for something completely different.
Are you on VoiceOver pay-to-play sites but are struggling to get traction? Or have you thought about joining a pay-to-play site but you just don't know how to optimize your profile for success? If so, then you don't want to miss this month's Masterclass replay sale called The 3-Step System to Turn Pay-to-Play Auditions into Gold with Amy Weiss. This is a replay of the live class back in March and is on super sale at $200 off the original price. In this class, you'll learn the overlooked profile mistake that's costing you jobs, why 90% of voice actors waste time auditioning for jobs they'll never book, the secret to making your voiceover demos work 24/7, how to turn a single pay-to-play booking into a long-term, high-paying client, the goldmine section of your profile that most voice actors ignore, why most voice actors treat pay-to-play sites like a lottery and lose, plus a ton more. This is a replay, so to learn more and to get instant access to the class, click on the link in the description and pinned comment below.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, method number 3 is building a booth from scratch. Now, this isn't for everyone, but if you're handy, this can be a very great way to start. So here's how this works. What you're basically doing is building a tiny room inside of a room. Everything that you would do to build a regular room, 2x4s, insulation, drywall, you're just building a smaller version of it. There's also lots of specific kinds of building materials that actually are about treating sound. Certain drywall and insulation is actually created specifically to reduce sound. I know plenty of people who have actually built booths like this, and they sound fantastic. They do cost a little bit more, but definitely not as much as buying a booth, off the shelf. This option is definitely less portable, but it will last years. And if you decide to, you can actually build it in a way that you can take it back apart if you need to. Another great thing about this option is you can build it however you want. You can design the size, the shape, all the bells and whistles inside, and really get creative. Now the cons here is it's going to cost a little bit more and maybe sometimes a lot more than the first two options, depending on the materials that you buy. The second is that it actually takes a lot more time and skill to build this. There's plenty of videos and stuff online, but make sure that you've got the skills and tools necessary to build this kind of booth. These can also be kind of hard to move around. So like I said, if you want to build it where you can take it back apart, that's great. But if not, it's going to be kind of hard to move. So these are best for people who are pretty serious about voiceover and want to make sure that they are setting the stage for a long career. All right, last up is buying a pro booth from a professional booth building company. When you buy this kind of booth, they'll actually send it to you usually stacked on a pallet that you can then assemble at home with the instructions they provide. Once you put it all together, it's turnkey. As soon as you have it, you're ready to record. There's several popular brands. You can go with a Whisper Room or Studio Bricks or vocalbooth.com. The pros here are that these have great sound quality, but you're going to pay for it. These block most of the outside sound. No room is 100% soundproof, but these do an awesome job in actually keeping extraneous noises outside the room. These also look very professional, both inside and outside, as you can see with this. These can also be taken apart and either resold or moved to a different house. The first con here is that they are very expensive. I believe they start at about $5,000 and can go up to $20,000, $30,000. The second is that they are heavy and they do take time to set up. The third con is that these can also get hot, but some of them do come with ventilation systems that you can use. Of course, you probably can't use the ventilation system while you're recording, but it's very easy when you stop recording, either open the door and/or turn on the vents. These are usually for full-time voice actors who are in it for the long haul, who have the money to spend, but want the most professional sound. If you're just starting out, just go with the PVC for it, just so you can see what this whole thing's all about. If you're on a really tight budget, maybe try the closet. If you're serious and pretty handy, maybe try building one from scratch. And if you've got money to invest and plan on being in it a while, then go for the pro booth. The most important thing here is to start where you are. Don't wait for perfect. Just dive in and start recording. So at the end of the day, building a recording booth really is about what works best for you. Some people start with a PVC booth, some people start with a closet, some people who have money to burn just go ahead and buy a pro booth right at the beginning. Whatever works for you, works for you. And remember, clients couldn't care less what your booth looks like. If it sounds good, it is good. One last thing, once you get your booth set up, make sure you run it by an engineer. to make sure that the sound is professional. What a good engineer will do is create something called an effects rack. And what this does is it makes your specific space, whether it's a pro booth, a PVC booth, or a closet, sound the best it can be. So pick a method, set it up, and start recording. Your future self, the one that's going to be getting paid for voiceover, is going to thank you.